Welcome everyone to my Miro distributed talk. So it's all about exploring app integrations and AI advancements using your favorite tool, Miro. So for those that don't know me, I'm Stephen Sampson-Jones, also known as the Visual Facilitator. So I'm a Principal Delivery Manager at a public sector consultancy in the UK that focuses on government development and iterative products within the public sector. So yeah, it's great to absolutely welcome you to my talk this morning or afternoon, depending on where you're dialing in from. So in terms of the agenda for this particular session, I'm going to cover some of my favorite Miro AI advancements that they've introduced to the tool recently. It's currently in a beta phase, in addition to some of my favorite apps that I use in terms of things that help me bring products to life, help in terms of visual design thinking, and any sort of lean UX. So hopefully there's some tips and tricks you can take away and apply into your day-to-day work. So some of the ones we're going to cover is the sticky capture, how to generate mind maps, being able to affinity sort, summarize large clusters of Miro stickies, generating images, removing backgrounds of images, creating user stories and acceptance criteria, how you can introduce visual thinking techniques. You don't have to be an artist to be able to do this. There's lots of cool apps that we can do today. I'm going to show you how to utilize the dice to build interactive board games. And then my favorite bit around doing some low fidelity prototyping in Miro. So it's a bit of a chock-full agenda. So without further ado, I just want to introduce you to my absolute favorite. And this really bridges the gap between the sort of post-pandemic COVID world. A lot of the time where we're not always remote first, do a lot of hybrid working, especially when I'm facilitating design sprints, or even if you're doing things like sprint retrospectives or any other virtual agile workshop, this is a must. So for anyone that hasn't seen this, it's not even a new feature, but I don't think it's particularly well known. So if you go into more apps and type in sticky, you'll get which I've already got it here, but it's called sticky capture. So if you click on that, obviously you'd take a picture of your whiteboard if you're in the office or in a design space. So I've got an example here. And what I love about this is that the technology will recognize the borders of all my sticky notes. So you can see here. So generally it's done a pretty good job just off the bat, and especially because these images are a little bit slanted. So you just want to frame them all up, just like so. Let's delete this one because it's irrelevant. So there's one for teamwork over here. Looks all good to me. So there you go. When you're happy with that, you can add these to the board, like so. Normally takes a minute or two. As you can see here, it's taken all of those lovely images from your sort of remote virtual or hybrid working space and brought them to life into Miro. You can see it's also color matched it, and it's a really, really good way to be able to do that and make everyone see the same picture at the same time. So just to reiterate, that's the sticky capture tool. Take a picture, upload it. It's really good. And I just want to show you the next bit. So just taking some of these sticky notes a little bit further. So there's a few different ways that you can do this. So you can use the Command key and K to generate stickies, but a really good way, especially if you've already got some here. So you can hold the Shift key and select them. So I've got all of them sort of clustered here. I can click on my magic Miro AI button that's added to the toolbar. So hopefully a lot of your organizations have this. And there's a few different things that we can do here. So let me just summarize all these post-its for brilliant. So it's given me a load of different sort of agile events, roles, principles, frameworks. You can see here it's done a pretty decent job there, summarizing all of that content, which is beautiful. And then other little bits and pieces we can do. So I use this a lot, especially when supporting user researchers, clustering by keywords or clustering by sentiment. So being able to cluster by paints and games. But again, you see it's a click of a button and it's clustered it really nicely there in terms of Scrum, Kanban, teamwork. And it's only recognized a couple of different elements there. So yeah, there's a couple of great things to do there. One of my other sort of favorite bits, just messing around with sticky. So again, Command K, so that kind of gets you into this bit. generate sticky notes. And for instance, maybe, so at the minute I'm doing some work with the Met Office, which is a UK weather app, also provides stuff to international countries as well. Maybe I want to get some different personas for beach forecasts. That's an area of work I'm doing at the minute. And a click of a button, it's going to give me a load of personas and segments in terms of, well, who are the sort of people that are likely to use this tool. And as someone that's just done an 8-week discovery on this, it's completely accurate in terms of their swimmers, its adventurers, rock climbers, photographers, people that fish, thrill seekers. So it's a really good way just to quickly sense check a demographic and just sort of sense check your own thinking. But you can use that for lots of different things, whether you want to cluster on, agile methodologies I've done here. Just a really good way. So there's that. And just coming on to the sort of images as well, so you'll notice here, so for instance, let's take a fisherman, that should generate a good image. So again, select the poster or sticky note, Miro AI, generate an image, and you can almost generate personas at a click of a button now. So it'll probably take a couple of seconds just to get that for me. But I use this quite a lot for empathy mapping and just being able to like visualize some of these segments to life. There you go, there's my fisherman persona. Like I could try that again if I wasn't happy with it. For instance, we can do another one over here for a swimmer, and it's just a really quick way just to build empathy, generate prototype personas, and just gives you that springboard in terms of the design thinking, whether you're doing design sprints or specific discovery work. So there you go, there's my swimmer. So I'll probably try that one again. It's really good just to be able to sense check that quickly and sort of build on it. So my next favorite Miro AI introduction is around mind maps. So it's a really, really good tool for learning, coaching, educational. So I kind of touched on design sprints a second ago. So for instance, some people might be like, well, what is that? Again, I could talk about that, or what a really good thing to do, especially if I come across things that I'm not familiar with. So for instance, like test-driven development or agile practices, some of the bits here. So we could put, design sprints there. And again, at a click of a button, it's going to map that out in terms of all the processes, the techniques, like what's involved on a day-to-day basis. Let's just make that a little bit bigger so you can all see. So here we go. And yeah, that should be sufficient. So again, you can map this out. It can almost provide you an agenda, what's provided. And the thing that I see a lot of people, there's a few people that know how to do this, but you can go a little bit further. So for instance, identifying the problem, you can start expanding these nodes with different questions or different ideas. So, how would you identify the problem? What sort of techniques are there? And of course, there's Google could be a brilliant friend, but Miro does it all for you. And you can see here, it's expanded that in terms of, well, maybe you want to do some pain points, maybe you want to do some how might we's, maybe you want to do some user research, maybe we've got one down here, plan for future iterations, and we want to expand with some questions, see what it provides. And again, it's just a really, really good educational tool. You can use it for storyboarding, planning your workshops, whether you're an educator or coach, teacher. It's great for mapping your content and providing stuff in one place. So yeah, feel free to mess around with mind maps. And you can see here, it's generated all of that sort of content in the click of 2-3 buttons. So it's a really, really useful tip there. So just coming back to the images, and like I said, it's pretty quick to generate images off of sticky notes, but the thing that I probably use the most, and you can see a lot of the images that I've provided on my own content here, is that, so I do a lot of drawing or visuals, or even if like you're not a visual sort of facilitator or illustrator like myself and you use Google, you're probably going to get something like this. So like, this is just a quick copy and paste job of the Google images. And again, if I wanted to put that over the top, it doesn't look particularly pleasant. And I like to use bespoke dot voting counters. Obviously, Miro's got a brilliant dot voting mechanism. But what I like to do here is to be able to remove this background, just click on Miro AI, remove it. It's done an absolutely wonderful job there. Maybe I want to just make that a bit smaller. And then what I tend to do is like I said, use these for dot voting counters. So I might duplicate them a few times, and if I'm in a design sprint or we're talking about product ideas, that people are just able to use these images to be able to vote on the board content. So obviously you want to bring them to the front, and again, that looks a lot nicer and neater. And again, you can see it at a quick glance. So it's quite a nice way, especially if you're doing a Dragon Ball Z themed retrospective, or you can really immerse people if you use any sort of themed workshops. But again, it's a really, really useful tool. And I find myself, even if I'm not presenting in Miro and I'm using a PowerPoint or a Keynote and I want images or graphs, I normally copy and paste stuff, remove the background, and then paste it into the other tools. So it's a really, really good technique. So my next bit is around user stories. So what I like to do here, so there's a few different things you can do. So again, I'm just going to generate some sticky notes and like product ideas for, I don't know, beach forecast for a weather app. So like I said, this is something I'm working on at the minute. So I'll let Miro give me some wonderful ideation. Here we go. So we've got a load of different concepts here in terms of jellyfish alerts, etc. Just keep them all selected. And what I like to do, and obviously you're doing this in your own workshops, you have your own ideas, but just showing you just for the purpose of speed. So you convert them to cards. So here we go, got some wonderful ideas converted into cards. And what you can do here, so if I select this particular card, and then again we've got our magical blue Miro AI box. Click on that, and there's a few things you can do, but I want to show you the first bit, which is around generating the cards with user stories. So it's quite a non-specific sort of action there. Let's have a look. Here we go. Took a second to load, and there you go. It's given me that sort of behavioural-driven development sort of insight for a perfect user story that I could pull into my backlog. And you can kind of go one further on this. Again, keep it selected. I can add acceptance criteria to the card. Just expand that out. Again, obviously you're going to want to sense check this with your engineers and your multidisciplinary team, but it really does give you a leg up in terms of being able to make product owners' lives easier, BAs, engineers, and it kind of gives you that definition of done straight off the bat. So I use that a fair bit in terms of speed, and especially in design sprints where we're trying to get stuff into the backlog and product ideation pretty quickly. And one of the other bits, whilst we're still talking about sort of cards, is using planning poker. So I see a lot of people using different tools for this, but you can keep it all in one place. So for instance, if we took that sort of jellyfish feature, so you could spin this up, and everyone would get a prompt to select a card. So maybe I want to, I don't know, infinite. So you'll see that drag and dropped onto the board. It starts to load. There you go. That's my card. You can see it here. Put it there. Everyone can reveal their cards. And again, you're doing that where you're picking the outliers. That's the sort of chosen bit. And again, you can come in here and set the user story size. So again, really useful. And then one of my favorite apps, it's a Miro plugin, and I'm not by no means affiliated to Drawify, but it's an absolutely brilliant tool. It's completely free as well, so you can sign up for more premium templates. But a lot of people I get is, well, I can't do these sort of visuals you can see on my screen, but Drawify allows you to sort of be able to drag and drop really awesome content very quickly. So for instance, you can start building templates, or demonstrate, like being able to visualize some of your content a lot better. So for instance, I quite like to build retrospectives off the back of things like this. So like, for instance, a little time lag there, you can build things like the hot air balloon retro, click of a button. There's different prompts around team, so again you can drag and drop them directly in. Here we go. And again, it's just a really, really neat way just to visualize your content. And I like using the banners. Again, you can see I've used one here. So again, you can start containing your content really nicely with a lot of the Drawify add in. So I don't want to spend too much time, so I've got a little bit left to get through, but yeah, it's one of my top tips for visual thinkers. It is as easy as that. And this was something I've come across fairly recently, actually, in terms of how people are able to replicate online board games in their Miro. So it took me a fair bit of time to realize this. So this is my Monopoly retrospective technique. There's a couple of different icons I like to use. So for instance, I like to use the icon finder. So for instance, I can get my sort of play pieces that you can see here, or maybe I want to get the sort of trusty top hat I remember using as a kid. There you go. So there's my counter. It's great for things like that. So let's put that on the start column. So, and then the other bit is, well, how do you use an online dice? And again, I've seen people have to do this physically. You know, it's not as immersive or interactive, or maybe they use an app on their phone, but it's all built into Miro. So again, obviously you probably wouldn't use 2 dices in Monopoly, but just for fun. So, you know, put the app on and you literally just drag and drop it. Everyone will see it. There you go. I've got lucky number 5, and you can move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. Thanksgiving. And again, the dice is brilliant, especially if you're using sort of game mechanics, and that's how I've seen a lot of facilitators and have managed to replicate that sort of unique dynamic and gameplay within their Miro boards. And then my last bit is the wireframing library, and I use this a lot for low fidelity prototypes, and what I've kind of coined here with the teams that I work with called a sketching station. So Miro's got all of these product sort of like containers, whether it's a browser or an iPad, an iOS device, and you know, like government in particular has its own style library. And again, I've kind of put them all in here. I've removed the background so I can really easily get people just to drag and drop concepts in here, which is really neat. But then an even better way of doing this as well is, again, if you come to your apps, wireframe library, I like to pin a lot of these. As you can see on the left of my screen in terms of the components, there's different devices. For instance, we've got a search field here. So let me just sort of build something. So I scroll in, so there's my search bar. Move that a little bit here. There's different areas in terms of different checkboxes. And again, you can make this as unique as possible. You can have it checked. You can change the content to, I don't know, for instance, maybe there's a particular color code that you want to use. There you have it. So you can kind of choose these kind of like call to action components. There's different videos. So we use this quite a lot in government or even sort of like educationally. So again, you can change the shape, again, the colors, you can change the different icons. Maybe that's a sort of autoplay. So I use this a fair bit, especially for things like avatars as well. So maybe I want to create like a little profile page. So it's just one of those things that we can really quickly as designers and product people just to be able to sketch out ideas and have a little play around with it and see how things kind of look, especially in design sprints. There's a ton of components and icons here that's just literally drag and drop and really useful. So I'm kind of at the 20-minute mark. So I want to kind of save a little bit of space for any questions. So yeah, thank you for anyone that's joined us today, and I'm going to stop sharing and see if there's any questions. There we go. And let me just check the chat. So a question from Jordan. Is there a how-to guide? I can't figure out how to start the personas or the mind mapping. Yes, there's a lot of wikis and how-to guides on Miro. So that's kind of how I got started in terms of, you know, what are the different command prompts? You know, what are the different prompts? I think on a lot of the Miro articles, they also have like mini 20-30 second videos embedded, so you can actually see everything I've showcased you today as well, which is quite useful. We've got a question from Hendrik. Does Miro intend to add additional AI-powered image editing features? Don't know. So I'm hopefully there's someone else on Miro that can answer that in the chat. But I guess the fact that this is a beta, I'm kind of expecting more AI advancements to come along. What else we got? So a question from Eric. Does sticky capture work from the app as well? To my knowledge, it does. So I've only used it a few times. I haven't used it recently, but especially if I'm facilitating in the office, I use the Miro app, and it's great to have everything in one place. I can take a picture on my device, and then I can upload from my camera roll, so it makes it a little bit easier. So I've got one other question from Man. How do you create the starting point on your board, such as images, user stories, etc.? So I'm not quite sure what that means in terms of creating a starting point. So I think for me, in terms of my board design, so I like to storyboard. So I typically have an idea in terms of the content and the way that it's going to flow. So I think in terms of everything, I normally have a beginning, middle, and end, or what, so what, now what. And I think that's normally my starting point is, okay, well, what do I want to introduce? What are the main takeaways, and what are the things I want to reinforce? And I can fill in the gaps. I think that's quite useful. See the questions coming in thick and fast. We've got another one from James. Do you have a roadmap for an app that creates timelines with swim lane by week, month, quarter, years? Do you have a roadmap? So yeah, so in terms of the products and teams I work with, we use Miro, various templates from lots of product evangelists. We use things like now, next, later. We use different things like missions and objective and key results. We use everything to keep it in one place. So I think that I kind of understand that's kind of what we do. So yeah, we do have one. Obviously, I wasn't able to show it because of the sensitivity, but again, using that user story creation, you could do exactly the same for epics and plot them similar to how I demonstrated that on the sort of Miro Kanban board. Cool. 1 minute left. Any other burning questions? No. In which case, thank you very much, Miro, for inviting me along. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk and demo some of my favorite features with you all, and yeah, looking forward to being involved and seeing you all in the other wonderful talks, webinars, seminars, and interactive sessions throughout the next day or two. Thank you.